We're here today to see if you can beat Ghostwire Tokyo in 2024. This game's a strange one. I remember hearing a bunch about this, how it was going to be like next gen, this, that, the other, before it came out a few years back, and then after it came out, I didn't hear anything about it.
Never did have much interest in this head, did you?
No.
I'm trying not to talk over too much of the cutscenes that I do put in
That's not
here.
how it is.
But this is our main character, Akito. Kind of
Don't leave me like this.
I'm gonna say dumbass. Well, sure, I can understand him wanting to hurry up and get to the hospital for his sister. Riding headlong into a fog cloud
Can't use life.
whilst
Time I'm gonna vanish.
on a slippery road is a great way to meet God, really. And now we meet our second protagonist here. Our hitchhiker, our passenger, whatever you want to call him. He calls himself KK. So we get possessed because he thinks we're dead. And although he couldn't possess someone else that was alive, he can possess us because we're knocked out or something. I don't know. They argue back and forth for control while this happens. This fog just kind of rips the souls out of people. Although I guess maybe since we have both souls, we're okay. Or something. Maybe it's the magic tattoos we now have. I have no idea. Doesn't really explain that bit.
Gotta spell it out for you.
And yet, later on when we go into the fog, it hurts us. It's strange.
Now come on.
What the? Something's coming.
Shut it, kid. Hide now. Come on, get moving.
I gotta say, this part here is actually fairly cool. I like the style they were trying to go with for this game.
That's some crew. Him. Oh, vagrant soul. Heed my call. I will be your salvation. Your soul redemption. Your souls shall be purified and form the foundation of the world to come. A suitable vessel has been ready in anticipation of your arrival. Now, gather forth. A most noble edge awaits you.
And that was the antagonist of the game there. The main antagonist. Back to the whole spirit walk thing. Death parade, spirit parade, whatever you want to call it. Along with the spirited forest over there. What I like about the Japanese interpretation of spirits and the like is that there's no convincing the people that they're real, right? At least for the most part. It's usually, okay, well, hey look, there are ghosts here now. Okay, cool, there are ghosts. Moving on. Instead of like the American style of you have to spend half the game or half the movie convincing somebody that there's a ghost. Played around with the controls to get them better instead of the fucking spastic shit that I was dealing with. Now we deal with our first enemies here. These Slender Man looking fucks. They're really just called walkers, I think.
Help!
And they're like different forms of them, like rage walkers or walkers with knives and shit like that. They use their umbrella to block attacks. They just kind of walk toward you, though.
First, you need to focus energy in your fingertips, then let it out in a burst.
And then we see the magic system,
Keep it up.
spirit, energy system. Basic wind attack. Nice, quick, easy attack. It has a good distance on it. We have a good block. You can get a dodge later on, which isn't too bad.
What's that? That power.
I mean, the game looks great. The game feels good to play. It's fairly basic, especially for the time it came out, which was 2 years ago. Since I've already played the game at this point, gotta say that the story is also fairly basic. But again, not bad. It feels...
Forgive
How to
me if I
explain
don't want
this?
to have a chat with a guy who tried to possess me.
It reminds me of the game Rise, Son of Rome,
anyway?
right?
You first.
Some of you remember that. It was like a launch title for one of the Xboxes. I don't know which one.
Still, this town's
But it was-
in rough shape. Never
It was
thought we'd get
a
this
tech demo to a point, but also a competent game,
Is this
right?
really Shibuya?
So it's not a terrible game, but it's also not just a tech demo. Though I gotta say, you don't really see too many tech demo games anymore. Maybe we've hit like
Looks like you can absorb power
a
from
point of diminishing returns to where, while the consoles are better, they're not, you know, as big a leap between like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, right? Now we realize they're locking souls and shit away in these Hell Cube things. We also get introduced to another enemy type, along with stealth. Stealth animations for executions are pretty cool. Have that weird visceral sound to them, which is interesting. This enemy here, I forget the name of them. Whatever. They're students. They attack you. Some of them have a few ranged attacks. Later on, you get more aggressive versions of them, but they're mostly melee units.
Mari?
Get some weird PT shit going on. Which again, a lot of the visuals in this game are really cool. It's just,
Can't trust your eyes in here.
if they would have taken like another year to work on it, well, sure, the graphics are, you know, I mean, the graphics look fine by my standard because I grew up playing like PlayStation 1 games and shit, but, you know, graphics aren't there for the newest systems, I should say. But if they would have taken another year to flesh out the story, maybe a little bit more to the combat, and really worked on the traversal mechanics of it to get moving around the city as fast as the combat can be in parts, then I think it would have been a long-lasting game. We make it to the hospital. Our sister, Akito's sister, Mare, is here. Masked Dude is here too, because why not? Our passenger, get to see him in what he used to look like.
That's right.
You figure out he has history with the masked guy, and the masked guy wants the sister because spirit reasons. I don't know. It's explained further on.
Our business must wait.
Just being here seems to affect our character because reasons.
Told you to keep your hands off!
Yeah, probably not the best bet there, bud.
She's still your fear.
You're literally in a different dimension at this point.
Be her salvation.
And now we meet the other antagonists of the game, the other three masked, whatever the fucks. We get Bruce Lee shanked here, and yeah, wake up, kind of fine. And now we move on into the city itself. We have to go cleanse these Torii gates. That's how they're pronounced. I'm not Japanese. I don't know. Gotta go cleanse these fancy gates here because they've been corrupted with the magics of the whatever. And this is where the loop begins for gameplay. It's pretty much explore the city, find one of these gates, clear one of these gates, then the gate opens up the area around it and into the fog, so that you can then go there to clear their gates, to open up more area, to clear more gates, to, you know. If you've played Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, you know what you're getting yourself into with this. And the only problem is this is a more extreme version of that, to where you have to go to these gates to open up the areas around it instead of just marking shit on your map. Come here, we'll pick up a few things for later, along with these little paper dolls. Again, not Japanese, not gonna try to butcher the names of the things. These are used to trap the errant souls around the place, so that the demons can't get them and eat them, or whatever the fuck they're doing with them. Use a phone booth, which, yeah, apparently they still exist. At least for some secret organization, anyway.
Built these things. Hold that Katashiro up to it.
One of the strangest things is, if these guys knew this was going to happen, our passenger, KK, along with his group of individuals that work for the government, why the fuck did you only put up payphones and shit instead of, you know, hiring more people to help you? Like, sure, you gotta be able to see the spiritual energy, whatever, but come on now, man. Especially later on when we realize that, you can get certain things that could possibly help normal people deal with this shit too. It's just, it's strange. Why there's like 4 people to deal with this shit.
Only I hold the key to these souls' salvation.
This guy here, I like his design, I like his mask. He's just a fucking dumbass, though.
You are no savior.
Especially having played through the game entirely, he's just a dumbass.
Stand aside. Come on. We need to get out there and help as many spirits as we can.
After having our vision, turning in the 400 souls we got, we head over to KK's apartment because, well, his safe house, where we rummage through his shit and he gives us a magic folding bow
Help yourself.
that he somehow found at one of those Torii gates. Torii gates, however the fuck you pronounce it.
Who are you?
And it also has an optic on it, which is weird. Like, old school bows don't have optics. And I'm not a master Japanese archery or anything, but I'm fairly sure they also don't have a European style to need that style of optic. Again, I have no idea, but I'm just figuring. We get locked inside a barrier around the house here, around the apartment, and shit gets weird inside. If you've ever watched the anime Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Look around.
The domain shit that goes on in that show, it's pretty much what we're dealing with in this one.
A dead end?
We're inside a demon's domain. We have to figure out the anchors, really, that are keeping us here. Destroy those anchors and then we can get out. They can fuck with the domain while we're in it. If we're in here too long, we're just stuck. So we're given a time limit to find all the seals to break it so we can get out.
What the?
It's here.
As we move through it, you know, shit gets weird.
Smash it.
But as soon as you destroy all of those anchor points, you're good. Everything goes back to normal.
Made it.
Could have done without that.
Also steal some food from these people, because why not? They don't need it.
Must be around.
All they are is Jedi robes on the ground anymore. Head outside, decide to fight. Take one out from stealth. Start blasting. Some of these walkers walk faster than others. if you hit their cores when they're exposed, you can tear them out of them. We also come across another enemy. I think this one's called like a paper doll or something. They shoot stuff at you and then skirt around. Later on, they even start healing some of them, so usually focus them first. The shield, I don't really use the shield much this run, simply because it doesn't block all damage. And while if you get a perfect block, you get a riposte of some kind, almost a parry. Don't touch the Eye of Sauron here, get a new ability. Fire. Fire Spear, kind of, when it's upgraded. When you charge it, you get a fireball. It's pretty cool. Making our way toward our next objective here. Grab some souls, kill some enemies. Go to kill these ones, and I notice they just kind of despawn. I find that weird, and then I realize where I am. I'm back at the beginning, where we crashed. And apparently this just happens like every time you come here from a different area. This weird parade of the dead thing. It's pretty cool. It's intimidating. That's for sure. Especially with the different types of specters you could see in it. Especially now you realize, oh shit, I'm gonna have to deal with like all of these specters at some point. And yeah, that is somewhat true. At least looking back on it now from me narrating this, I can see... Yeah, I do believe all of these specters here you do face at some point in the game. Which is interesting. It's a good build-up to it, you know? If only more of the game could have been this, like, suspenseful, you can't fight, you have to get away type thing. We head underground because apparently there's just
Do you think he's here?
ancient idols and stuff underground in Japan. So that's a thing.
Wait.
Here we run into our first boss. They're kind of like mini bosses in the world, but you know, one of the main antagonists. They start shooting at us and draw us into their
Must be guarding the place.
domain. That's just what I'm gonna call it. Especially when you see them actively use it
Make it talk.
like this. It's pretty much exactly what it is from that show. So it's just a big fuck off demon that has unique powers. Each one of them has a unique power. This one here can use the same type of magic we use. So I spend a while fighting him, using the different types of magic I have. By this point, I have water magic. I didn't put that in because it's not really all that significant like it was getting the fire one. You just kind of come across it.
Pretty good on your feet. Use that.
Now the ground pound thing does kind of get annoying. Can't block it. Jumping over it's kind of weird. So I focus it down, I run through most of my fire shot. The water abilities it has are hit a little harder than ours. So I just mostly end up dropping back onto air shot when I can. And it puts in quite a bit of work. I think it's the speed at which you can lay down damage with it. Same thing, focus it down, find its core, rip its core out.
I guess it's coming from that.
This one's not having any of that right now, so it reverts back to its human form. He gets ready to fight us again. Cutscene shots, we knock his mask off because there always has to be a reveal like that.
Yes.
Then for the reveal of...
What? What's wrong?
Give it a second. It's our passenger, KK.
No shame!
Stop a second! What's going on?
Just back off!
Now you realize that the bodies in the masks and shit are dead bodies. brought back with
Why are we fighting?
demons of some kind.
He made this monstrosity.
I don't think they would be considered like Oni, because we meet actual Oni in game, and they're kind of chill. So, explain that it originally the word for unseen, so they blame the unseen for stuff, which was cool. And now the bow. I talked about the bow a little bit earlier, but haven't really used it for the reason of there's not really any reason to use the bow when you have your magics. I feel like they realized that too and made a few times in game where you have to use the bow because you're separated from KK. I think they could have done so much better with this, right? Instead of forcing us to have a bow, like giving us a magic sword or something. That way it could have been used in the style of like the chainsaw from Doom. You know, you're out of magic bullets or whatever you want to call it. And you need to top off on it. You know, you have like one charge of your sword use, and then you use it to cleanse the soul and get all your magic back or half your magic back or something. That would make more sense than it's a bow. It can one-shot most things if you headshot them anyway. Beyond that, you know, there's not much use of it. It has a longer distance than the airshot does. Sometimes I do believe you can upgrade the airshot to have a longer distance and also fire quicker. So I feel like that wasn't thought out. Anyway, we cleanse a bunch of gates, head further into the forest in the middle of the city or something. Maybe it's a park. I don't know. Run into the
What are you talking about?
This
masked whatever the fuck crackpot. That works.
Human souls to connect our world to the next. His wife got sick and died 5 years ago, and now he's trying to bring her back. I'm sure his daughter would be so proud of what dear old dad has become.
Now they take off their masks. And oh look, his dead wife and his daughter.
AK, what's the deal? Who are they?
Forgive me, but I believe I have misled you. My wife and daughter understand me perfectly. I have but to beckon their souls back from beyond. Special credit must be given to my daughter. This barrier would not exist were it not for her.
You sacrificed your own kid for this?
The body
Yeah,
is
again,
not
this is where
but
this
a
guy's
vessel
entire,
for the
like,
soul.
idea, plan, whatever, just kind of unravels for me anyway. With the whole, his wife died and he wants his family to be together again, so here, let me sacrifice my child.
This guy.
And then put demons in my
cracked.
wife's body and my child's body so that I can then collect up human souls to rip a hole into the afterlife to try
I
to
shall have her.
bring their souls back, and then it's fucking stupid, right? It's just stupid. Especially with what happens later. It's stupid. She uses her domain, and we run into the multi-tailed cat thing that was in the weird Death March Spirit Walk thing. So like I said, you do run into like every one of them at some point, which is pretty cool. Simple enemy though. You hide. You run, you hide. After it steals your magic again. Because they can just do that. Gotta give them props. They steal your magic multiple times. Like in other games, they'd steal your magic once and then never do it again. But, you know. You're able to sneak up behind it and just rip off its tails, and that does something. I don't know. I don't understand Japanese folklore, so I don't know what the symbolism is of tearing off the tails of a multi-tailed cat demon woman thing.
I'm sorry.
After we do that, we try to stop him. We're too late because that's always how it goes in video games. We summon Nightwalker, Spirit of the Forest, whatever you want to call it. It just kind of fucks off toward the city. Because why wouldn't it, I guess? Although, weird thing, if it can walk through the mountain here, why isn't it just falling through the ground? Because it's walking like it has weight to it. So you figure it would, you know... I don't know. Weird shit on weird spirit ghost things.
Not done.
We realize that what's-her-face ain't done yet. His daughter. The one whose soul made the veil. So we tear out the demon. I guess the demon's bound to this wooden plaque thing.
What's going on?
We go to cleanse another gate.
It's like a hurricane.
But, the giant seems pissed off. So they summon in a horde of enemies with a world boss. Like I was saying earlier, there are bosses just around the world you have to deal with. Most of which are folklore from Japan, I'm guessing. Mostly because the boss that shows up in this one, I've seen in like stories and shit around the internet. These are some walker variants. They have knives. They attack with like medium range, which is pretty cool. These are like the bruiser variants of them. They can take more damage and attack with their umbrella. Their umbrella also blocks more. And then we wait for the next one to spawn in, and there she is. Red coat, scissors, mouth cut apart. You know, can't name her off the top of my head. Apparently fairly famous in Japanese folklore and legends. We fight her multiple times in the game. There's also another variant that has a mask on, wearing a white dress with a big hat. I don't think I have any footage of that one at hand, but yeah. So we fight her. I'm running low on hard-hitting magics, so as usual, just switch back to air shot and just go for it. At this point, I have an ability that, one, allows me to rapid-fire everything, and two, quickly use a charged attack after a normal attack. After we do that, we cleanse the gate so that we can get over to another safe house that has a bike in it. Because, you know, he didn't almost kill himself last time on a fucking motorcycle, so maybe we could try again.
Damn.
Personally, I like the style this bike has before the fairings are put on it.
But
Gives me more of a cafe
what's custom
racer
about it?
vibe, a little bit of
Got some kind of anti-spirit tech.
an industrial vibe to it, you know. Once the fairings are put on it, it just looks like a normal crotch rocket. Not my style.
how about in reality?
As everything with this game,
Give me a sec.
it's missing multiple things. We need gas, because God knows it's so hard to get gas. Turbocharger, spindle thing, turbine, that's what they call it.
This turbine wheel's useless.
And then,
Shape's all wrong.
It won't work?
hell oil? Or netherworld oil or some
Why'd
shit.
you have to use parts nobody can replace?
So we go to a fancy car for some reason to steal a bunch of parts from it. We get some gas. We try to take the turbine wheel. It don't work. Then, not really paying attention, something happens, which we've already dealt with before, so I don't know why they're acting surprised. It's a weird dead march again. And we have to deal with this weird cloaked figure. Which again, gotta give props to the game. They found something that worked and they went with it. You know, the enemies went with it. Rip the soul out of the guy so that you don't have magic anymore. Although this just kind of boils down to, here's another area where you have to use the bow.
Got some more company.
Again, the bow is mostly a one-shot kill. Faster enemies and shit you can just take out with AoEs around the map. Fairly easy to deal with. It also likes to punch holes through the armor that some of them may have. You can also get perks to charge up the bow faster and all that.
Handled yourself well.
We go back, we reabsorb
Realize just
KK,
how safe it feels in here.
then we get out of this little domain.
They're not
Then we head into Hell, or the Afterlife, whatever you want to call it, to get the Hell oil. And we have to fight the same cloaked thing that froze us in place in before, so it's pretty much a continuation of before, but now we get to fight it. Then Airshot does a lot of heavy lifting, although the freezing shit is annoying. So I decide, hey, since it's ice, I'm just going to switch over to fire and just keep blasting it with just charged fire shot. Gotta say, the hand signs are pretty cool. You know, animations to show that you're doing something in-game like that are pretty interesting. They give flair to it at the very least. Although I would have liked to have seen some variation in it. Here's the footage of the other variants of the split face lady. She has the scissors, she has a white dress, a white hat, and a surgical mask on. Along with whatever the fuck this thing is in the white and red robes over there. Use the secondary ability of my ice, water attack, which is ice. Freeze some of them in place. Run out of magic in a few places. Switch over to my fire, which I just got a new charged ability for, which is just a fucking flamethrower. And that really reminded me of the alternate fire modes for the signs in The Witcher 3, which was an interesting idea. Clear the core out of the last one. Head on from there. We have the hell oil, we have the gas, we have the turbine wheel. We fix up the bike. Again, I like the style it's in right now without the fairing.
We're charging into
But they put the fairing on it.
You ready for this?
Which, sure, you know, it's the style of most bikes over there. Gives it kind of a super bike feel. Just not my thing. Took it from having some character to just looking like any crotch rocket.
Alright, let's roll.
Also, fucker should put a helmet on, because goddamn. But he's not going to. His air shot takes out part of the fairing. Doesn't hit the gas tank. Bikes, believe it or not, don't have a huge gas tank. It would have bled out super quick and he'd be running on nothing but the auxiliary tank if this bike has an auxiliary tank. Yeah. So I'm guessing it didn't hit the gas tank, in which case it only melted part of the fairing, so I don't know why the shielding system that takes the hell energy, whatever oil, is now broken. We trade blows again as we move on further into the toward Tokyo Tower, I want to call it.
Not over. Hurry!
As we head up, we get ambushed again. This time by the other mask wearer. This one was the body of his wife.
Trying to bring his family back?
You heard him before. As far as he's concerned, bodies are just wrappers for the soul.
Yeah.
Pawns for him to use.
There's no way we can avoid fighting her?
Again, bodies just wrappers for the soul,
Anyone in
fodder
our
to
way
be
goes
used.
down. No exception.
Anyway, this one does the whole domain thing too. And now we have another boss fight. This one's like a giant spider thing. Neat designs for these things. The gimmick with this one is it has two cores, not one, for some reason. Core under its jaw and then the core on its body. Pretty much just play keep away while focusing down those cores. Tear the core out, which breaks it back down to its normal body after it gives me the bird. And then, yeah, KK tears the wooden seal. I think it's probably some type of like demon seal. Has a demon sealed in it or something.
got me. Can't say I feel sorry for her, but I'll put her out for misery.
Again, it's not an actual person, so you're not putting anyone out of anyone's misery, right? Soul's already gone. Right now, it's just a corpse that has a demon piloting it like a mech. And that is strange, because the other body didn't force fade away. Which is strange. If it did, I was not paying attention.
Hey! Don't listen to his bullshit.
Head up to the
Kill him
top.
now, or the
Our
world is done for.
protagonist has a crisis of faith because you always need an 11th hour crisis of faith and or conflict between protagonists.
Get it together!
This one gets both,
Time is
although
nigh.
one of them's cleared up
The world
pretty quick.
rests on the precipice of transformation. A new age.
By this point in time, he's dumped a
dawn.
bunch of souls into Mare,
My
think
dream
is her
will
name.
be made manifest.
and is now fucking off through the giant
Get up.
into
Follow it.
like a limbo type state place. And of course, one last time, KK's body's got to show up.
I can do this myself. I'll kick my own ass.
No idea how much control he actually has over his body. Pretty much same fight as before, although he has like little rage mode and whatnot. We also have a rage mode. I just don't use it. It's not that good. Fights don't really last long enough to justify its use. The rage mode for the game, mind you, is called Wired In, hence Ghostwire Tokyo.
I got this.
And this scene made me wonder if it was like a Celebrimbor situation from like Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, where both technically exist at the same time,
Thought I'd be off in myself.
just overlapped in the same place, technically doing the same thing. It's weird. We jump on down to head through the final gate thing. Yes, I'm wearing a vault suit now.
Yeah.
I was looking through my inventory and I had it. If I'd known I'd had it, I'd have been using it sooner, but this game was published by Bethesda, so, you know, shoehorn in Fallout where you can, I guess.
You ready?
I do wear it for the rest of the game, although some of these cut scenes, like this one, are rendered in-game, and then some other cut scenes are pre-rendered, which is weird. Just, like, all in one way or the other, don't fucking mix the two. We get the gate open, we head inside, because again, Japan apparently has a bunch of random underground places like this, where he's doing his ritual to try to stop time at the hole he ripped into the afterlife, and then he realizes it's not working, almost like he doesn't have control of the situation. Mind you, to get to this point, we had to do a whole backstory for our character and what happened and what didn't happen. Cliff Notes version of it, right? Him and his sister had a mom and dad, as everyone does. The father died, mother got sick, mother died, sister became depressed, he became disconnected, as what usually happens. He tried to reconnect with his sister some, gave her the rings that their parents used to wear. She held on to him dearly, was coming somewhat out of her depression. Their house caught on fire because they got terrible fucking luck. She went back to grab the rings, the roof fell in on her. Gotta speak clearly now, you know. She has been in a coma. I don't know if it had just happened, and that's why he was rushing to the hospital in the beginning, or if she had taken a turn for the worst, and that's why he was rushing to her in the beginning. Either one is plausible. She says it's not his fault,
Thank you
you know,
for coming.
and she's been hanging on so far to be able to tell him that. So that's, you know, heartwarming and or sad. I don't know which. Take your pick.
I wanted to apologize.
But that's Akito's story. KK's story is he's a government issue
It's what
Well, he's kind of like a soldier, except for dealing with supernatural shit. You do learn his name later on, or before this. I don't know. Either one. He never introduces himself, so we're just going to keep calling him KK. He has a wife, he has a kid. Not really around them because he's thrown himself into his work because there's bad shit going on, and if he can keep the bad shit from happening to his family, he feels like he has done enough. Provided for them and made sure they were safe. And he now feels bad about it because, you know, he's fucking dead, but just kind of how that works.
I'm so glad
So that's KK's backstory.
I could finally.
And we're coming up on the point to where it just proves that the antagonist of the game is fucking stupid. I.e., right here. Right, what he's been saying his entire plan was to bring his wife back from the dead. Also bring his daughter back from the dead that he sacrificed to be able to bring his wife back from the dead. Those are spirits of dead people that are pissed off and or in anguish.
I was not mistaken.
Later on, we see pure souls of the dead. Take note, the two that are hanging on to him are just the corpses of his wife and his daughter, not their souls. So he did all of this, the entirety of this, to just merge his body with his dead family's bodies. Because those aren't actually their souls, right? So he's fucking stupid. Like, I can understand he didn't know it was going to turn out this way. But why would he think at this point that this is what he wanted? He knows that that's not their souls, so I don't understand his reasoning at this point. Mind you, he could have just completely fucking lost it at this point too. That's always an option. But now we get to see his amalgam form, demon form. Although there is one thing I don't really understand is why his skin was deathly gray too. Like the others. Mind you, the others were all corpses, he wasn't. Unless he died and then stuck his soul back in his own body. But that kind of defeats his entire thing of the, yo, move on, I'm purifying shit, so. I don't know.
Why do you interfere?
Kind of makes no sense. The gimmick with this fight is each head is its own core. You've got to target down each head.
Your salvation.
You destroy the head, you pull the core out, and then you can... You fight little wave enemies. Do a flashy little finisher and kill him. Toward the end of his boss fight, he's actually realizing he's gonna die and he's sad and scared of it. I don't know. Quite frankly, could have saved everyone a bunch of fucking problems and just jumped off a goddamn bridge because he wanted to be with his wife again. You know. Anyway, touching moment here with his sister. And now we see actual souls that have moved on when they die. I don't know what the significance of the veil over the face is. I can understand not seeing the dead when you talk to them, but I mean the markings on it. They also don't speak, which again is understandable, you know. They come to take her with them because she's dead. The fire did its damage to her. She's dead. He has a heart-to-heart with his parents before they go. Not saying that he didn't care, but, you know,
December 10th.
it was just harsh to deal with. You know how it is. If you've ever lost anyone, you know how it is.
Of course
Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the game.
never.
Don't know if they ever made any DLC for it. Like I said, not a bad
I
game.
won't keep pretending it doesn't.
Felt in a lot of places like a tech demo for a game system that didn't exist, you know. Like if this would have been brought out at the advent of the PlayStation 4, then it probably would have done well. Like, if it was bundled with the console, people probably would have loved it. For it coming out 2 years ago, 2022. Yeah. Especially the mechanics in it. You know, the combat's serviceable. It's good. It feels good to watch, anyway. Kind of basic, just clicky button, hold button, that sort of thing. Maybe on a higher difficulty it would be different. The traversal mechanics of it, fucking hate saying that word. Could have been a lot faster and a lot snappier, right? You can get an ability that like lets you grab hold of demons that are flying, called like Tengu or something, and it pulls you up to the tops of buildings. You can then upgrade that to where you can summon your own Tengu and automatically zip to it. Again, it should have, I don't know, it could have been a lot snappier to run around the
Finally learned how to open up to your family, huh?
map like that.
Here I thought you'd learn to be quiet.
I gotta ask you.
Give us the whole God of War walk up the thing toward the end of the game.
Talk to my wife,
End of it.
boy.
KK asks us to tell his wife and kid that he loves him and that he's sorry. You know,
I will.
fairly sure. Again, sad that he didn't spend a lot of time with his wife and kids. Fairly sure if they were here, they dealt with this situation. There's no covering it up. Okay, the entire city of Tokyo had their souls ripped out. You explain to them, hey, you know, your dad was fighting them people for years. He's a hero. I'm pretty sure they could understand it. Sure, again, sad your dad missed your birthday a couple times, but hey, he saved the fucking world, you know?
KK.
Don't get yourself possessed again, Akito. Most rapes aren't half as charming as that.
Yeah, you're a real charmer. Can't get you out of my head. You ought to be grateful.
And he's gone.
Thank you.
Anyway, hope it was at least somewhat enjoyable. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it.